Yay, another talking video! Woo! Today I'm coming to you guys with a pretty requested video, and it is the whole idea of how to convince your parents to buy you a horse or something along the lines of that. The whole idea behind convincing your parents to get a horse, it's not really about convincing them. You have to show them that you want a horse so badly, that a horse would fit into your life so well. It's not even about convincing them. Like, they should already see it in you, that your life would be absolutely perfect with a horse, or like that a horse would fit in so well that nothing would change, or like, like, I don't know, that's kind of how I look at it, because personally in my case, I've been riding for about 8 years and it's been continuous. I've taken lessons every day, every week, once a week. That is not enough, in my opinion, to show your parents that you want a horse or in any way will convince them to get you a horse. So I've been riding for a long time, always loved horses, always like basically wanted one. I even switched barns to find a better coach to get a better riding experience. I've helped out with horse camps with little kids. I actually got a job at the barn and worked there, mucking, turning horses in and out, giving them all their grain, their medications, soaking hay, and like all that general barn kind of management. I worked at the barn and did everything that you would have to do and like at your own barn with your own horses. So that was another thing that kind of showed my parents that I was responsible. I'm all over the place. Okay, so working at the barn for, I think it was about not a full year, but almost, is what I worked at the barn for, and doing that showed my parents that like I was committed to the whole barn atmosphere. Like, of course you have to be committed to riding, but you can't just ride and then hand your horse off to someone else. Like, you have to be in it for the long run. You have to be able to muck out, like give your horse medication, do all this stuff, know how to feed it properly, what amounts to feed it. Like, having that job gave me so much responsibility, and that is another thing that showed my parents that I wanted a horse, because it wasn't just, oh, I want one because it's fun and I like riding once a week. It was more like, she rides once a week, she helps out with camps, she's at the barn whenever she can, she actually works at the barn. I wasn't doing it for the money, I was doing it more for the experience, because I just wanted to be out at the barn every day. Who doesn't? Yeah, and with all that, my parents still had absolutely zero intention of buying me a horse. Just saying, like, no intention whatsoever. Like, no. Like, oh, you could do anything, you could do everything and anything, and your parents still could be like, nah, we're not getting you one. So what I kind of did was I got like tons of books and read up on everything about horses that I may or may not already know, just to kind of give me that extra bit of knowledge. I even leased and co-boarded horses over the times, like over the summer at my old barn, where you didn't take lessons because of the camp kids using the lesson horses, so I would just co-board one for the summer. Yeah, we did that even too. Parents still had no intention of buying me a horse. The only thing that really like hit home and like got my parents actually thinking about it is that I literally went ham. I put every detail and planned out every moment that would consist of me owning a horse. Like, I researched, like, I gathered a list. I said this in my my horse hunt video. I gathered a huge list of every single barn that is in my area within, like, I think like within a half an hour of my house, and I called every single barn. I asked how much it was for indoor board, how much was it for outdoor board, my camera's dying, how much, like, everything, every cost, everything. Like, I was like, okay, how much would it be? Do you have to come out and muck your own stall? Do you have to administer your own feed? Do you have to turn them in and out yourself? Like, what are you allowed to do? Can you jump without a coach? Can you go trail riding whenever you want? Are all the facilities available to you? I kind of decided what I wanted at a barn, which was complete freedom basically. So I called around and I asked which barns would give me that, and then I also calculated how much gas it would be there, and I laid out every single cost associated with owning a horse. Like, that was just one tiny little part of it. I did the cost of feed and the cost of grain and the cost of like everything, like nutrition wise, if the barn didn't already have that included with like someone doing that for the horses. If they didn't and you had to do it yourself, then I calculated how much it would be to buy that and like kind of bring it out and like feed them and whatnot. I also did how much it would be annually and monthly for lessons and the whole cost of board, and then all the costs on top of that, like tack, grooming supplies, like surprise vet calls or anything. I calculated legitimately everything. I just put in every single detail I possibly could and put in so much effort. Like, this will not take you one night or one afternoon. This will take you like a week straight in the summer, not doing anything else but this. Like, lay everything out completely, like even get a bulletin board and like post all your things everywhere and like get everything out in the open and just be like, these are costs that we're gonna have to do. This is the time that needs to be spent. Like, show them that you are so committed to this that there's no possible question of why not to buy you a horse. Like, what I did is I made like a mini calendar. I did Monday to Friday school, threw in like random days of me working in there, and then I was like, I'll ride in the morning, like on the weekends, and then I'll ride after school, before work or after work on the weekdays. And I was like, I'll probably get in about 3 days of work, 3 days of riding with school, and I laid out my whole week for them. Another thing you can do, and what I did personally, was I made a list of reasons why my parents wouldn't want to get me a horse. Like, it could either be too much money, I'm not responsible enough, it'll take too much time out of my week, I don't have enough time to do it, I'm not committed enough. But like, to all of those questions, I talked about why that's not true and why I am committed and I do have enough time in my week and we can afford it because I have a job and I can help pay. Like, I pay for my lessons, parents pay for board, I pay for everything else. Camera, don't die. Don't die. Also, if your parents, like if you know your parents' money situation and you're kind of struggling, wait until you can afford it yourself and get a job and do that, or lease or part board or do a cheaper option than getting a horse. You know? If you can afford a horse, get one. Get one if you can handle it. But for me, I definitely thought like the options would be so much better to own than to lease or co-board. Because leasing and co-boarding, like, I'd want to get all the stuff for it, but obviously it's not worth it because it's not my own horse. It's way more expensive in the long run. Like, I remember I went to check out a leasing barn, and the one horse to lease was like $900 a month. And I was like, no. And another barn was like $400 or $300 a month, but like, that's the price approximately it is for me to board my own horse and to do whatever I want and to have no restrictions while riding. Like, it's pretty sweet at my barn. Like, I have basically total freedom and that's what I wanted. So, I mean, it really outweighs it. Like, at the show barns or at the leasing barn or whatever that I wanted to check their horses out at, you could do less for more money, but I mean, you really had very limited things you could do yourself, and there's a lot of like snooty people, and like there's a lot of like, you wouldn't ever get the arena to yourself. At the barn Maya and I are at right now, you have like the barn to yourself almost every day. It's so sweet. Whenever you talk to your parents about getting a horse, just really make sure it's mature and just be like, yes, I want a horse and I'm going to show you how it's doable. And I definitely feel like if you lay the whole thing out and you show your parents every little nook and cranny of money and time that will be used to get this horse and finance this horse, then really I think that like, I don't see why it wouldn't happen. Kind of plan out days too, like be like, I want to go see this horse, possibly that could be a contender to get, and then see if your parents are down to like drive you, or you drive yourself and like take video and then show them. Like, I mean, really, if your parents aren't horse people, like my parents were not horse people at all, and now they love it because I like show them all, like I basically show my passion for it, and then they couldn't help but not love it too, right? I definitely consider myself one of the lucky people because I never thought I would get a horse, but I did, which is crazy. And this is what I went through. I know a lot of you guys are going through it, and basically all I can say is if you really want something and you have a passion for it and you're committed and you're dedicated and you will put all your time and effort into it, then it will happen for you. Like, just hold out. It's not difficult, I would say, to convince your parents to get a horse. They may be completely set on not getting you one, which was the same with my parents. They were like, hell nah, you're not getting a horse. Do you know how expensive that is? Do you know how much money that is? Do you know how much like time and effort you have to put in, and blah blah blah. But like, to be honest, it's no different than riding school horses or leasing a horse or co-boarding a horse or part-boarding a horse or whatever. Like, you still go out to the barn. My entire, like, getting a horse would not have worked out if I didn't have compromises with my parents. Like, I said that I would have to get good marks, I would take myself out to the barn when I can, like there's a bus route that goes near the barn-ish, and then I would bike from that point. I'd have to pay for a lot of it myself, and like, if you can't make deals with your parents like that, then you're just gonna have to wait until you can get a car or a job or something like that where you can kind of support yourself and a horse that you decide to get. Do not rely on your parents to get you to the barn or to pay for everything, because it's not gonna work. Like, even now, if I'm like, can you just like drive me out to the barn quick, they're like, no, like we have stuff to do too, but like he needs to be ridden. So I'm like, well, okay, what do I do now? So basically just make sure that you can compromise with your parents, because if not, it's not going to work, I guarantee. Lease a horse if you can't purchase, like if purchasing is not the option. Leasing is basically the more simple way of owning a horse, kind of, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of the easier alternative to purchasing a horse, because you get all the joy and fun of owning your own horse, but it's a lot less expenses right off the bat. It's the same responsibility, but not as much money, which I enjoy. But yeah, parents are like the biggest thing here. Like, if you buy a horse, your horse can be as easily sold as it was bought, which I know is hard to like hear, but yeah, my parents could easily sell my horse, which I appreciate them not doing. But I mean, yeah, just if you can figure out a deal with your parents and you show them the whole thing and you lay it all out and you say, this is what I want and I'm committed and I'm dedicated and there's no reason why not to get me a horse, and there's nothing you can say that I won't have a comeback for about why you shouldn't buy me a horse. Basically leave your parents with no other alternative than to buy you a horse. So this was kind of my rant on convincing your parents to buy you a horse. It's not exactly convincing them, but it's basically just showing them that your life needs a horse in it. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully I wasn't too all over the place and it wasn't too much of a rant. Yeah, this is kind of the steps I went through. I never thought it would happen, but it did, so it might for you too. So good luck on trying to convince your parents to buy your horse, and if you actually try out the whole like presentation board with all the things on it and the prices, let me know if it worked out for you. But yeah, good luck on trying to convince your parents to buy you a horse, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!